I always thought betrayal in the office would come with shouting, chaos, or at least a warning. But the truth is, sometimes it arrives quietly. Sometimes it comes with a smile. And sometimes, your entire career ends at 8:42 a.m. Not because you failed, but because someone decided you were replaceable. 1. 8:42 a.m. The replacement. The blinds in conference room 4C were half open, cutting the table with harsh slits of morning light. The air smelled like burnt coffee from the earlier sales huddle, the kind where half the team pretends to be awake and the other half pretends to care. At exactly 8:42 a.m., my director, Benjamin Hart, folded his hands and said my name the way a surgeon says, "Scalpel. Lewis, we're restructuring your role, effective today." Restructuring, the corporate word for we don't need you, but we don't want to look cruel. Sitting beside him was a girl I had never seen before. Early 20s, perfect hair, bright smile, laptop covered in Pinterest-style stickers. "This is Riley. She'll be taking over your accounts." She waved, smiling like she'd won a contest. I stared at Ben. 6 years at Helix Point Software. 6 years of smashing quotas. 6 years of building an enterprise pipeline from scratch. 6 years of late-night demos, cross-country flights, and fixing problems I didn't cause. Now replaced by someone who still typed with 2 fingers. "Why?" I asked. Ben cleared his throat. "We want to introduce younger energy, someone who understands the Gen Z buyer, someone relatable." Riley beamed. "Hi." I nodded slowly. "You'll transition your accounts today," Ben added. "Then it will offboard your credentials." Offboard. Another corporate way of saying, get out before you see something we don't want you to. I stood, calm and steady. "Sure," I said. "I'll make sure she has everything she needs." Ben exhaled in relief. He'd expected anger. He'd forgotten who I was. People like me don't explode. We wait, we watch, we calculate. And when we move, the ground doesn't shake. It breaks. Silence cuts. First. I returned to my desk. The same office hum continued. Keyboards clacking, Slack pings, fake productivity floating in recycled air. No one looked at me. Everyone knew. You can always feel fear in a company that's collapsing. It sits in people's shoulders. I opened my CRM. 35 active enterprise deals, multi-year expansions, 6-figure renewals, pilots, weeks from converting. Helix Point didn't know these deals weren't just numbers. They were relationships. And the moment I left, the moment those relationships felt the silence, they would drift. Riley approached my desk, hugging her laptop. "Could you maybe walk me through your top accounts? I learn better when people talk things out." Her voice was pure, eager optimism. "Of course," I said. For the next 3 hours I trained her, but only on things she could see on the surface. I left out. Client politics risk triggers hidden landmines, the nuance behind every decision maker. Everything I'd learned through years of late-night calls, she typed happily. "You're so helpful," she said. "They said you might be bitter, but you're not at all." I smiled. "You'll be fine." Ben walked by with a cup of kombucha, his personality of the month. "Teamwork makes the dream work," he chirped. I didn't laugh. I packed my things, handed in my badge, and shook his hand. His grip was weak. The strongest hands in the office are always the quiet ones. 3. Day 1. The first reversal. I didn't go home. I went to Industry Grounds, the cafe across from the old factory. The barista nodded. "The usual?" "Double shot," I said. "Extra bitter." I sat by the window and sent emails to my clients. Not dramatic, not emotional, just, "I'm no longer with Helix Point. You're in good hands. Wishing you continued success." Polite, controlled. But silence has weight. Clients rely on familiarity, and I had been the constant in their systems. Replies came immediately. "Why did you leave?" "Who is managing our renewal? Can we talk today? This is concerning." I answered, "None." Helix Point didn't fire an employee. They removed the stabilizer from a machine already shaking. 4. Day 4. The second cut lands. Ben called. I didn't save his number, but corporate insecurity has a tone. Lewis, some of your accounts are confused. They're asking questions Riley can't answer. Can you maybe, just quickly, help bring her up to speed? The audacity. I already transitioned everything, I said calmly. Well, they're threatening to pause renewals. You should talk to Riley, I said. She's your younger energy. The silence burned. He hung up. The second cut landed. Quiet, precise. 5. Day 7. The leak. On day 7, it happened. A reply-all email from Mariner Logistics, my biggest client, accidentally included me. Subject line, urgent, what is happening? Riley had already misquoted features, shifted deadlines, and promised things that never existed. The VP wrote, we trusted Lewis. Now everything feels unstable. If this is Helix Point's new direction, we need to reevaluate our relationship. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Helix Point was starting to bleed. 6. Day 10. The visitor. It was raining when I heard the knock. Riley, soaked, eyes red, holding a binder full of spreadsheets. Please, she said. I'm drowning. Everyone's blaming me. Clients are yelling. Ben said it's all my fault. I need help. She wasn't the villain. She was the body they threw in front of the problem. She laid out the binder. It was chaos. Broken deadlines, miscommunicated requirements, wrong feature promises, panicked responses, conflicting internal directives. How many accounts are unstable? I asked. Most. How many renewals are delayed? All of them, I exhaled. Helix Point didn't just poke a sleeping animal. They walked into its den and turned their back. 7. Day 12. The spark. By day 12, new calls came in. From clients, not from Helix Point. Lewis, are you consulting now? Can you advise our IT team? Can you help us reevaluate our stack? Then Mariner's VP asked, are you available to manage our full transition away from Helix Point? 6 figures minimum. 7 if clean. Why me? I asked. She answered, because the only person who understood our system isn't there anymore. 8. Day 14. The line that broke. Ben called again. His voice was panicked. Half your accounts have frozen negotiations. Mariner filed intent to migrate. Lewis, come back. Contract roll. Advisor. Anything. We need you. You replaced the person they trusted, I said. That intern was HR's idea. Then call HR. Lewis, please. I smiled. You should call your intern, I said, then hung up. 9. Day 15. The quiet war begins. The next morning I woke before sunrise, not out of stress, out of clarity. For the first time in years, there was no Helix Point Slack ping at 6 a.m. No urgent update. No emergency escalation because someone forgot a deadline. Just silence. But inside Helix Point, there was no silence. There was panic. At 8:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Grant Whitford, CEO of Helix Point. Call me now. I didn't call. A CEO texting a former employee means the fire has reached the top floor. And flames always rise faster than they fall. 10. Inside the building. The collapse accelerates. I didn't need to be inside the office to know what was happening. A friend from engineering texted, Bro, what did you do? Half the exec team is in meltdown. Another message. The sales floor is dead quiet. They looked like they watched a ghost walk through the hallway. But the most telling message came from finance. There's an emergency audit at 3 p.m. Ben looks like he's been awake for 3 nights straight. Helix Point had been cracking for years. All I did was stop holding the cracks together. And now, every fracture was spreading at once. 11. Day 17. The email that broke their back. At 10:14 a.m., an email arrived. From Mariner Logistics, my oldest client. Subject line, Notice of termination. The message was clinical. They were ending support. They were ceasing all expansions. They were preparing to migrate off the platform. They explicitly cited instability after my departure. And the final line: we repeatedly requested Lewis remain on our account. His removal was unexplained and damaging. That line was a blade. Not aimed at me. Straight into Ben, straight into the CFO, straight into Grant. Ben called 5 times. I didn't answer. Riley called. I didn't answer. Then the internal audit office called. I didn't answer. Helix Point wasn't losing clients. They were losing the story they told themselves about being in control. 12. Day 19. The offer. At 9:20 a.m. I picked up Grant's call. His voice was exhausted. "Lewis, let's be direct. We made a mistake. I'm prepared to hire you back. Name your compensation. Name your title. We'll fix this." That wasn't an offer. That was surrender. "Grant," I said, "you're asking the wrong question." "And what question is that?" "You should be asking why your clients trusted me more than your leadership." He didn't respond because he already knew. "You, come back now," he said softly. "Or this company may not survive the quarter. I hope you figure it out," I said, "but I'm not coming back. You're making a mistake." "No," I said. "I made the mistake by staying for 6 years." Then I hung up. 13. Day 20. The line. Riley crossed. At 7:03 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Riley. She looked wrecked. Hoodie, damp hair, mascara smudged. "They're blaming me," she said. "They're calling me incompetent. They're saying you sabotaged me." Her voice trembled. "They said I'm too naive to realize what you did." I stared at her. "I know you didn't sabotage me," she whispered. "You were the only one who tried to help me." She placed a folder on my table. Inside were internal Slack threads, altered forecast reports, hidden risk warnings, emails showing deliberate manipulation directives to massage the numbers, finance objections being ignored, pressure from leadership to fake confidence. It was everything. A roadmap of corruption. She swallowed hard. "They set me up. They set a lot of people up. I want out. I want the truth exposed. Take it. Do what I can't." "And you?" I asked. "I just want a clean start, where no one uses me as a shield." I closed the folder. "This isn't revenge," I said. "I know," she whispered. "It's justice." 14. Day 21. The break point. By day 21, Helix Point's collapse was no longer a rumor. It was public. A journalist posted leaked screenshots of Slack arguments, forecast manipulation, executive denial. A manager stating, "Losing Lewis wasn't ideal, but he was replaceable." That line went viral. The internet loves poetic irony. Helix Point became an industry cautionary tale overnight. They weren't bleeding anymore. They were hemorrhaging. 15. Day 23. The unexpected ally. At 10:08 a.m., I got a call from Apex Cloud Systems, one of Helix Point's biggest competitors. "Lewis," the director said, "we want you. Lead strategic transitions, set your team, set your compensation. We'll give you all the clients running from Helix Point." It was flattering. It was powerful. It was tempting, but I didn't want another corporate ceiling, another VP who could erase me with a meeting invite. So I said, "What if I partner with you instead? I stay independent. I help clients transition. When Apex is the right fit, I bring them to you." She smiled. "That is much more interesting." We shook hands, not as boss and employee, but as partners. 16. Day 24. The knife that turned. Riley texted, "They're firing people. Support team, onboarding team, closing your entire old division." Of course they were. They weren't restructuring. They were collapsing. She pressed a USB into my palm. "All the proof is here," she said. "Everything. Do what they'd never let anyone do." That night I sat in my apartment with the USB on the table. Not revenge, not anger, just truth. I plugged it in. The files opened, and the fall of Helix Point began. 17. Day 25. The decision. I read every document in the USB. No theatrics, no dramatic smoking gun, just quiet, methodical dishonesty. Forecasts inflated, churn disguised, risks hidden, metrics rewritten, warnings ignored, employees blamed, clients misled, all stitched together by people who believed no one would ever question them. I prepared 4 separate reports. One for Helix Point's board, one for their biggest investor, one for a compliance attorney, one for a SaaS industry journalist who hated buzzwords and worshipped receipts. Each packet was tailored, but the truth inside was identical. No revenge, only facts. I sent them, silent, precise. Sometimes the loudest bomb is a quiet email. 18. Day 26. The whistle. The first shockwave hit at 9:14 a.m. A text from finance. Emergency board meeting. CFO looks like he aged 10 years. Then engineering. All projects on hold. Are we being investigated? Then support. New deals on freeze. First time in company history. At 10:47 a.m., an article dropped. Leaked documents suggest forecast manipulation at mid-size SaaS vendor. No name in the headline, but everyone recognized the screenshots. It spread fast. Executives don't fear failure. They fear exposure, and Helix Point had just been exposed. 19. Day 27. The last offer. Grant called again. No arrogance left. Only survival. Lewis, we know it was you, he said. You gave the board a narrative. No, I said. I gave them numbers. He sighed. The board wants accountability. They're taking down the CFO. They might take down me. They want you back to help stabilize anything we have left. I'm not coming back. You walk away from this. You walk away from everything you built. I already walked away the moment you replaced me in 8 minutes. He paused. You think Apex will treat you better. I'm not going to work for Apex either. Then what the hell are you doing? Building something that doesn't depend on someone like you deciding my value. He didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. 20. The choice. Employee or architect. I met with Apex the next day. They offered high pay, high status, high influence, but it still meant I'd be an asset, a tool, replaceable again the moment someone wanted younger energy, so I made a different offer. I stay independent. I build my own consultancy. When a client is the right fit for Apex, I bring them. When they're not, I still help them. Clean, honest, transparent. Apex's director leaned back, impressed. Non-exclusive partnership, she said. No ceiling, no leash. We shook hands. I wasn't stepping into another cage. I was stepping into ownership. 21. Day 28. The fall of the Golden Boys. Helix Point held an emergency all-hands. Someone leaked the entire recording to me. Grant stood on stage, exhausted, suit wrinkled. We are undergoing a period of intense scrutiny, he said. Corporate code for we are collapsing. Then the real news. The chief financial officer is stepping down. Benjamin Hart is leaving the company. Gasps, silence, shock. Ben sat in the front row, hands tight, face pale. He didn't clap. He didn't blink. Leadership took the fall publicly, but only because the board needed sacrifices. Then during the all-hands, Mariner released a company-wide announcement. Effective this quarter, we are transitioning off Helix Point. Transition plan led by external consultant, Lewis Grant. That announcement leaked, too. The internet devoured it. Helix Point wasn't sinking. It had already hit the ocean floor. 22, day 29. When the pipeline finally bled out that afternoon, cancellations began. One client. Pausing our multi-year expansion. Another. We are freezing integrations. 2 more. We are terminating early and absorbing the penalties. The so-called growth pipeline became the exit queue. By evening, the board issued a statement. Strategic alternatives. Operational restructuring. External review of leadership decisions. Corporate code. 4. We're selling what's left. All because they replaced the wrong person. Not because I was irreplaceable, but because they didn't understand the cost of removing trust. 23. The last conversation. I left Mariner's headquarters and saw Ben sitting alone on a stone ledge. He looked small. "Lewis," he said quietly. I stopped. "I got fired. I know. They blamed me for everything." "Did you sign off on everything?" I asked. He hesitated. "I did what they told me." "That's how companies like that survive," I said. "Everyone tells themselves that." He looked at the ground. "You destroyed me," he whispered. "This will follow me forever." "No," I said. "You destroyed yourself." I just stopped covering the cracks. He looked up, eyes red. "Are you happy now?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "I'm not happy they collapsed. I'm happy I'm not under the rubble." He nodded slowly. "You know, Riley didn't deserve what they did to her." "For once," I said. "You're right." I walked away. He called after me. "When did you start planning all this?" I looked over my shoulder. "The moment you told me I was replaceable." Then I left. 24. 6 months later, the new office. My new office was small, second floor above a print shop, bare brick, simple desk, reliable coffee machine. On the frosted glass door, black line transitions, enterprise systems, and vendor strategy. Consulting founder, Lewis Grant Mariner, had fully migrated. 2 more companies followed. Apex paid partnership fees on schedule. On Tuesday mornings, I taught workshops, reading between the dashboards, how not to get lied to by growth slides. Clients loved it. One morning, Riley arrived with 2 coffees. Her email signature now said, "Riley Chen, Senior Implementation Specialist, Blackline Transitions. Partner." She smiled. "You saw the news." The headline, "Helix Point acquired in distressed sale by private equity firm." Subheading, "Vendor collapses amid trust and churn issues." She asked, "Do you feel anything?" I considered it. "I regret staying as long as I did," I said. She nodded. "You know someone's going to make a video about this one day, right? About the guy they replaced with an intern." "Maybe. What would the title be?" I thought quietly. Then she smirked and answered for me. "They replaced me with a smiling intern at 8:42 a.m. 29 days later, their entire pipeline bled dry." I smiled. People would click it. We got back to work. Outside, somewhere in another office, someone was being told they were replaceable. Someone else was being undervalued, underestimated, ignored. Stories like this always repeat. But sometimes, if you walk away early enough, if you choose truth over silence, you get to watch the empire that underestimated you collapse under the weight of its own lies.